Yes. And welcome to Player Profiler Primetime Friday. We are here. I'm bigz. He is Chev. We have an overlay that I have to do. I was trying to there's a little StreamYard problem where it clips the hosts real quick before the intro video. So I wanted to talk about some things first before we hit the intro, because rookie camps are swinging. We got rookies, we got video, we got overreactions, we got all kinds of hype today. It was such a good day. So let's get into the program. If I can find what happened to where did my intro video go? It's right here. Welcome, everybody. All right, it is Friday evening, depending on where you're at. Friday afternoon for me, and Chev and I.
Bermuda Triangle.
8 p.m.
Can confirm.
We are having trouble streaming to X. This may be an issue on X's end. Oh, okay, cool. Well, I don't like you right now. All right, so we had a lot of video coming out today. We had rookie training camps from the New York Giants. We had film of the Raiders. We had film of the Browns. We had film of the Chargers. Are you hyped yet? Are you bricked up, Chev?
I was born bricked up, and now I'm here.
That's true. Well, you guys, this show is brought to you by Fast Draft. Do you like drafting? Do you want to draft faster? Draft faster with Fast Draft. Go to fastdraft.app. You can use code BOOTH, BOOTH, which is on the screen right there, or Chev's code, which is
Chev90.
Chev90, and get a $50 deposit match and get your games going now. Origins is launched again. I want to say it's the 4th one so far in this preseason. And let me just check and see my last team. I was very, very pleased with the last team I was able to draft.
I'm a big fan of the last few drafts I had. I was so happy that I opened Gamma back up. So I thought that I had missed the window. I only got about 40 teams in before the first one closed. And now I only got a couple in that they opened, during the chaos. And now Gamma's back open and I'm 15 entries deep. About to throw in probably like 5 to 10 more turbo entries. And then I'm going to be rocking out all weekend. So if you are listening to this and you want to hop into Fast Draft, tag me on the X Twitterverse platform and I will hop in with you.
Yes. I will be as well. The last 2 teams that I've drafted, I have what? Won't it give me his come on. Brashard Smith, Dante Thornton, Ollie Gordon, DJ Giddens, Jackson Dart, Amika Ibuka. The way that I adjusted those boosters was I popped Dante Thornton to the top because I feel like if he's got a 2-point booster and he's catching deep bombs from Geno Smith and he gets himself acclimated and onto the field, those are going to kind of pay off. I feel like Jackson Dart is going to find his way onto the field at some point this year. I love DJ Giddens. I dropped Ibuka down just because I think that he's got a safe floor, especially if he gets some playing time. And then Gordon and Brashard Smith. Brashard Smith, you want to talk about a floor. Say they come out of training camp. The Chiefs don't care about draft capital. If you're a 7th rounder and you play well on the field, you are going to be on the field during games.
Allow me to take you back to a moment in time, brother.
Okay.
2022. We're going into Chiefs training camp. Sans Tyreek Hill, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the first training camp and all we kept hearing about was this 7th round rookie that just kept popping off day after day after day. And that was with first rounder Clyde Edwards-Helaire in tow and expected to reassume his his role as the lead back in the offense. So I've got my eyes peeled. I really want to see what it looks like in rookie training camp. And then if I start seeing, like, here's what I want to do. I want to make sure that when we get to OTAs, that Brashard Smith either has a role as a returner or we're catching 1 to 2 passes a day from Patrick Mahomes. If they allow him to get in space and operate in space from day one, he is going to shatter all of his ADPs in a dastardly and disgusting way.
Yeah.
Like, I have never been so certain about a guy's skill set translate. I called him Jerick McKinnon. I was like, who does he comp to? And it's like, it's not Bucky. He doesn't run with the same type of physicality and contact balance that Bucky does, even though he does have good contact balance. But I was like, man, who is it? Who is it? And it's Chiefs Jerick McKinnon. Yeah. Like, when you turn that tape on, that's what it is.
And nobody's been as bricked up about Brashard Smith. You and Ray GQ. Like, Ray was like really high on him during the Senior Bowl, and you were right around that same time. I heard it from you first. I didn't get to hear it from Ray until I was actually at the Senior Bowl. Yeah. But
so I watched him a couple times, and I was just like, it's SMU. It's not, it's not going to be that big. And then I watched him in the ACC championship game, and he was the best player on the field. Him and Bryant Wesco were the two best players on the field during the ACC championship game, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is a thing because Clemson's defense is good, and
that's only because Jaden Ott wasn't in the ACC championship.
Fair enough, but also, yeah, like when I saw it, I was like, this okay. So I'm not just having like the vodka goggles for a guy who I think might be. I'm looking for sleepers here. And now to see it, him to get the perfect landing spot. He didn't get the draft capital I want. He got the perfect landing spot. So all that to say, guys, if you are in your rookie drafts or your upcoming rookie drafts, I hope you did them soon. Like, I hope you did them now, because if the hype train starts rolling, we could get a Darwin Thompson-esque climb out of obscurity for Brashard Smith. And hopefully it works out more like Jerick McKinnon than it did Darwin Thompson.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys. When we were doing for a show the other day, we did a rookie mock draft, and it seemed to me like the first 7 picks are going to be bona fide productive picks in your dynasties. After that, it's 3 to 4 rounds of handcuffs and, hopes and dreams. And if you want to talk about sleepers, I did a sleeper target draft in Origins. And so I grabbed Elijah Arroyo and Jalen Milroe. Mm-hmm. Taj Brooks, Cam Scattaboo, Omarion Hampton, who's not really a sleeper per se, and then the aforementioned Dante Thornton. I feel like Dante Thornton has some explosive abilities. There are some people who are not going to see him coming.
Now, I absolutely love that, and I love the fact that nobody really is taking it seriously. That Dante Thornton is, he's 6'5", he's 205. He averaged 25.4 yards a catch his last year at Tennessee. And don't hear what I'm not saying, guys. Dante Thornton is not Brian Thomas Jr., but the measurables are very similar, and he won in a lot of the similar ways that Brian Thomas Jr. won in college. Mm-hmm. Do with that information what you want.
Now, this is not a situation where Luther Burden succeeded with a limited route tree and then was allowed to we know that the talent is there for him to expand that route tree, which is exactly what Brian Thomas Jr. did. So there's no means that anybody is going to be saying, look for Dante Thornton to have a rookie season on the level of Brian Thomas Jr. But if he can show a few things, I want to say the big number that jumped out at me was 40% curl routes. 40%. And then the rest were like nines and posts. And it's just, he's a wind sprinting X receiver. You run as fast as you can, and maybe Geno will find you. Well, Geno Smith is the most accurate deep passers in.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Where a month ago or pre-draft, I was like, hey, everybody, don't sleep on Trey Tucker. It's his third season. He ran the 5th most routes last year. He's also got a huge upgrade from 25th and 15th deep passers to top 3. He might get usurped by Dante Thornton. 4.3 speed at 6'5" is legit.
Yes.
And I mean, imagine if Calvin Johnson was as fast as 4.3. I know he was pretty close, but
no, he ran 4.3.
Yeah, imagine. imagine Calvin Johnson. Imagine Calvin Johnson with about 10 fewer bench press reps.
Imagine Calvin Johnson imagine somebody with similar tools, but just not Calvin Johnson.
So far, you've come to the show with the most ball knowledge pound for pound in the industry, and we've had Dante Thornton comp to Brian Thomas Jr. and Calvin Johnson.
Sure.
In the mighty words of Chev, do with that what you will.
Hey, whatever you want. This is not financial advice,
right? All right, we had some news out of New England as well. Lan Larison, my guy, was given number 34. He and your guy, who you're going to talk about in just a second, they both signed their UDFA rookie deals. And Lan Larison is a deep sleeper. He's going to earn his way via special teams. He's blocked by a few running backs, but the kinds of things that this guy does on the field they're eye-opening, and I can't wait for him to start like eking into some playing time. And then who is your guy on the Patriots?
Efton Chisholm.
There it is.
So the most Amish name you could possibly imagine goes to the Patriots. I'm pretty sure he's going to double. He's going to be out there with Mose in his free time. He's going to travel down to Pennsylvania and do some beet farming. But Efton Chisholm, undrafted free agent out of Washington State, very, very, very slick route runner. Very impressive at the Shrine Bowl from what I was able to see of him. And then going back to his Eastern Washington highlights, he was, he's a slick, slick separator, kind of in the mold, not in the mold of a Julian Edelman or Wes Welker, but just like more Danny Amendola. That's it. I know we can't do cross-racial comparisons, so I'll just stick with Danny Amendola. So yeah, Efton Chisholm's one of those guys, one of the guys that I've kind of got my eyes on. I mean, that you can tell that the Patriots are looking to revamp that wide receiver room. And so like even if this, here's the thing for me, even if these guys are they're not going to make this roster, if they impress during the preseason, we can easily see them land somewhere else and be actively assigned to an active 53 with a real opportunity. Right. So those are names that you should be paying attention to. Obviously, much more Lan Larison. This is a pro Lan Larison stand show, as opposed to, Efton Chisholm. He's cool.
So I just made room and threw in the claim. And on this taxi squad, I have Ben Sinnott, Cade Stover, Raheem Sanders, Kyle McCord, Lan Larison, and Chisholm is going to slot right in there. I can just throw him on my taxi squad. I can elevate one of those guys. Probably going to be Ben Sinnott to start. So and I'm here for it. We had some news from the Raiders camp. Ashton Genty looked good. Again, take all of these evaluations with a grain of salt, because we're talking no contact, no pads, foot drills that we're watching video of. But he was like making some spin moves. His lateral quickness is really, really nice to see. He's very athletic. There was another item from the Raiders camp, and that was a Jack Besh catch where he was fully extended with his arms and caught the ball at the catch point, at the high point, exactly how you're supposed to. He wasn't trying to like look it into his chest. He got up for it and he was fully extended to grab it out of the air. That's what we want to see. And then the other one is Raiders 6th-round pick Tommy Mellott, who's being moved to wide receiver. he's not ready. He won't be ready for a long time unless they like throw him in a wildcat situation, which is basically what he played at Montana State. So another FCS guy in the same division as Lan Larison and Efton Chisholm, where Cooper Kupp came from. It's a good division, and then one of the things that I saw was he doesn't look fast because he's white, but he runs fast.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Hey, but seriously though, go. All right, I would encourage everybody to type in Efton Chisholm on Twitter, and then you can scroll back a little bit and find some of his clips from the Shrine Bowl, and he is absolutely chopping dudes up.
Yeah,
so,
and again, we're talking about these FCS players. Lan Larison was the most productive running back in all of college football. Tommy Mellott won the national championship, and Efton Chisholm went to a school that gave Lan Larison's UC Davis team absolute fits. Finally got over the hump in 2024. Hadn't beat him in like 9 years or something like that, which is absolutely insane. So there's a lot of stuff coming out of camp that's super fun. We had some video that was Dylan Sampson and Quinshon Judkins running together, and the difference was exactly what the scouting report said. Dylan Sampson is a vertical explosion waiting to happen with no lateral ability. And Quinshon Judkins is 100 pounds heavier and moves so much quicker side to side. It's he's going to be good, folks.
That's what. So that was part of the part of the evaluation process. Is I questioned Quinshon Judkins' long speed, but what I didn't question was his lateral agility and burst. Like when he sticks his foot in the ground, he goes from 0 to 60 as good as any running back in the class. It's stark. Now his top end speed, like him getting caught in the national championship game from behind after that 70-yard run, people were like, "Oh, I don't know." It's like, well, I mean, the guy that caught him is really fast, so it doesn't mean he's slow. It just means that he's a big back and he probably got tired. So I think he's going to be fine. I think that they have some stuff to figure out, regarding who's going to attempt forward passes for them. But once they get that figured out, forward passes, by the way, an integral part of Jeremiah is killing me right now in the comments. Sorry. Once they figure out what's going, the forward pass is an integral part of American tackle football. So if they can get that figured out, I think Quinshon Judkins is going to be fine. I think he might be fine anyway. But
yeah, somebody figured out recently that throwing the pass beyond the line of scrimmage in a vertical fashion is it can be a key to victory.
Yes.
And there's already a quarterback controversy in Cleveland. Day one? Are you kidding me? It's Dylan Gabriel. It's Shedeur Sanders. It's day one.
Oh, goodness. If either one of those guys start, I'm selling all of my Cleveland assets immediately. If it's not 40-year-old giant hand Joe Flacco, I don't know if you've seen that meme floating around.
No.
The stills of Kenny Pickett holding the football versus Joe Flacco holding the football.
I saw it superficially yesterday. Didn't really dive into it. Didn't really know what it was, but I do note. I do remember that. And you know what they say about guys with big hands, right?
They wear big gloves.
They need bigger gloves. Correct.
Yeah.
And we also had some video of Jackson Dart, which is French for the art, throwing some pretty nice balls. And there were some comments that came out about his intermediate accuracy, and he throws with a lot of velocity, and the ball is right on the money. Now, that I have thought this for a while, but watching the video today was the ultimate confirmation bias that this kid is winning the job out of camp.
So here's the issue. Here's my issue. The only issue that I've had with Jackson Dart, I did not know how. Okay, so the way that Lane Kiffin runs his offense, like we've all seen the clip that went viral of John Gruden asking him for a snap count, right? Like, and he claps.
Mhm.
And they said, well, hey, what if you want to, draw them off sides? And you
Clap twice.
and that is such, to me, as someone who has played football and watched football for a long time, like, man, okay, so that is such a stark difference. Like, I can understand how he could master the Ole Miss offense, and he has all the physical tools. There's no question about that, none whatsoever. But the difference between that and being able to spit out, gun trolley right 64 house FN, that Brian Dable's asking you to spit out on the spot and like redraw all these plays and stuff. Being able to go from a one-word play call to spitting that out in the huddle, hearing it in your head, like hearing it in a headset, to spit that out in the huddle. There's a level of adjustment
Yeah.
that I think he needs to be afforded, but the physical tools are there.
It takes
There's
a while.
no question about that.
Yeah.
So but I mean, it took a second for Bo Nix too, but it happened pretty quick because they were like, oh man, Jarrett Stidham is not it. So this same thing very well could happen. Now, he does have a little bit stiffer competition between Jameis and Russ, and those guys both being professionals. Even though Jameis is hilarious, he's stuck in the league for a long time because he's talented and he is a professional. Even if he's good for a building, right, in terms of a culture fit. So I think the talent says that he could very easily win it. It's the upstairs game, the in between the ears, making it slow down to the point where it's all digestible and he can handle it on a play in, play out, week in, week out basis to set him up for long-term success and not worry about these guys coaching for their job right now.
Right. And if I'm the Giants and I have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in house and I don't have a thirst to win immediately, Jackson Dart might not even get on my field in the first year. I'm a clipboard guy. But here's the thing, and this is something that has been thrown out that my ears have caught in. They're going to get fired.
Yes. They are spectacularly.
So run him out and see what happens. Because if they lose with Russell Wilson or they lose with Jameis Winston, it'll be week 7, week 8, week 9.
Mm-hmm.
But if they win with Jackson Dart, they might be able to stick around for a little bit longer.
Yes.
So I mean, he looked good and everything. I mean, you've been hearing me pound this drum forever. Every time I have a question about Dart, I see confirmation in my first evaluations, and it puts me on an island because I'm like on the hook for the things that I've said, but also I still cannot talk myself out of it. You know what I mean?
We don't believe in that whole accountability thing that you're doing now. We don't believe in that. What? We ain't doing that. If it works, I'll take it full credit. If it doesn't, I'm never going to talk about it again.
What I say?
I don't even know.
Who
is Jackson Dart? I don't even play darts.
Jackson,
no.
Who?
I mean, I trolled you quite a bit about it. I have like 4 shares of Jackson Dart in rookie drafts now and startups. So I think the opportunity is apparent. But my fear is that they suck so bad that coaching staff gets cleared out 6-8 weeks into the season, and it just really such a fine line to thread for them to not get fired. Yes, that's exactly where I'm going. That's exactly where we're going with this. It is, man, if they clear house with Joe Shane and Brian Daboll week 8, then that leaves us with so many questions unless Jackson Dart absolutely is just throwing the laces off the daggum football for us going into 2026. So that's my fear. But from a skill set standpoint, he has everything it takes. It's just a matter of whether or not he'll get the ecosystem that he needs and the support that he needs. So we've seen first rounders get absolutely pooped on, like Justin Fields, and them try to come in and swoop and save the day, a touch too late, and now he's on his 3rd team. So I don't want that to happen. So I would prefer for him to sit and get acclimated get acclimated to the NFL culture, the NFL, you know, the responsibilities of being a leader and understanding the nuances of being the franchise, like the face of a franchise, for lack of a better term.
Right.
You know, because that's what he is now. Like,
And
you're the
he's got that
quarterback of the
first
New
round
York Giants.
contract.
Yeah.
He's got that first round contract, which is huge because it insulates him from regime change. And it's something that they're going to have to deal with. And you know, I in addition to you am also a clipboard guy as well too. And Bottom Dollar Bet says Dante Thornton Jr. to the moon. He could beat me there. And over under 20% success for Dart.
Are you saying 20% success, like from a team perspective, or there's a 20% chance that like he's going to be successful? Because there's way more than a 20% chance that he's going to be successful.
Mm-hmm. So, right. Okay. So on Dart, there is way. So this is where I'm at, Jamal. He is my favorite quarterback out of this rookie class. I know that Chev doesn't feel the same way. Chev has a personal stake in Cam Ward, and also Cam Ward was the 101. That's inarguable, right? The NFL gave their eval, and their eval is not the same as mine. And who am I? I'm just a stupid head right here that's flapping his gums. Okay. I don't have any stake in the game. I'm not giving anybody $20 million. I'm not wasting 4 years and first round draft capital on a potential project, whatever. Okay. So, he says Giants coaches and GM keeping job 20%. Yeah, I think that's a good number.
Yeah. I mean,
my stance on Jackson Dart, especially in Dynasty Superflex rookie drafts, is that you want to take him 107 or better. I like him at 105, 106, 107. There are two reasons. Number one is the value that quarterbacks carry over time, even if they're not on the field. So even if just Jackson Dart doesn't hit the field this year, he's still going to be a first round draft capital quarterback in the NFL. And that means a lot in Dynasty. Number two, his 500 yards per season rushing average at Ole Miss, really the last 3 years of his college career, is cheat code level value. So he's going to be able to bring something similar to what Bo Nix did last year, with arguably more arm talent. Not necessarily as much experience, but he arguably has a better arm.
Has as much experience as Bo Nix.
Right. And so I'm saying that if he's going at the back end of the first round or the top of the second round, he's being undervalued. And that's where he's going right now. So I don't think anybody is as bought into Jackson Dart as I have been. And maybe I'm overpaying at this point simply because I could possibly trade back and grab him. But where my valuation is, that's where I see his value.
Here's the beautiful part about this. Is the Jackson Dart face, by the way.
It's not the Chev face.
Okay. Now, here's a very, 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 this is not a fantasy show. I want everybody to understand that, but I mean, it's the off season, so we can do what we want because there's not a ton of news. There's just camp news that we're doing. I can do whatever I want. Now, what we're talking about, having neighbors increases his floor. So yes, that absolutely is true.
And Scatterbill.
The beautiful point that you just made was that you have a valuation of him 105 to 107 is where you're pretty much an auto select, right?
Yeah. Well, so that's where I see his value. That's not necessarily.
Yes. And I agree. And I agree that, you know, in a class that had more quarterbacks, we would be taking him there more times than not. Right. We did it with last year's class to a degree. Right. So being able to get him where I got him around like 112, 2-1, and I believe like 2-3, that's a steal.
Right.
That's a steal.
Now I have a rookie draft coming up, and I have the 103 and the 107, and I'm targeting Travion at the 103 and Dart at the 107. I need running back help. My wide receiver room is pretty good, so even if Travis Hunter is still there, I don't necessarily need him. Although that's a different conversation from today that we could have.
Let's do it. I guarantee you that'll get the comments going.
Okay, so somebody was asking about Travis Hunter and where he slots in with the Jacksonville Jaguars offense, and Chev made the very, very prescient point that nobody's overtaking BTJ for the wide receiver 1 spot. It originally came from Chev asking which side would you rather in a trade, Drake London on one side or the Travis Hunter 104, 103, 104 and Travis Etienne. And I popped in with, I would rather have the Hunter and Etienne side. Number one, Travis Etienne is not dead. He's just asleep. He will wake up at some point and he will help your fantasy team. So if you're getting somebody with the production profile that Hunter could bring, plus for Drake London, I like that side better. And that's what I said. Somebody else decided to get into the Travis Hunter versus Brian Thomas Jr. mix and thinks that Travis Hunter has a chance to take over. Now, we have friend of the program, Jax Falcone, on his podcast on the Undroppables. He had a guest, and the episode just dropped, and they were talking about the fact that Travis Hunter's skill set and his draft capital could mean that at some point, Travis Hunter is the guy who the Jacksonville Jaguars offense is completely focused on. Liam Cohen spent a lot to go get him, a lot more than he did with Brian Thomas Jr. because he had Brian Thomas Jr. handed to him. He had to go get Travis Hunter. So he might have some bias there. There are scenarios in which Travis Hunter is the guy. I pointed that out. I wasn't trying to say that was going to happen or anything more than, hey, it's something to think about. But
now,
Cook,
my counterpoint to this is, so I led off by all this by saying the reason that I sided with the Drake London side of the trade is because he's got 160 target ceiling, and it could be more than that. I mean, he had 18 targets in the week 18 game against Carolina, and like Michael Penix showed the one thing that you want to see from a young quarterback is willingness to hyper target his alpha wide receiver. Now, you know me, I was a Drake London denier. I'm a George Pickens lover. I engaged in some heated conversation about this in the offseason. I think that was before you and I met and, started this whole deal. But I was on the Drake London. I was on the George Pickens side because I thought that you could get similar production for, wide receiver 10, where Drake London was going, versus wide receiver 20, 29 or 30, where George Pickens was going. So lost that spectacularly. I have since been converted to a Drake London believer because I am such a believer in Captain Durag. That is Michael Penix, the signal caller for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, my argument initially was that Travis Hunter will not overtake Brian Thomas Jr. because of the fact that Brian Thomas Jr. has a very similar, I believe he has a very similar target ceiling, and he will get hyper targeted in that Liam Cohen offense. Now, what's going to happen is I think Travis Hunter, if he's playing primarily wide receiver, is going to get 100 to 110 of the most diabolical targets schemed by the offensive genius that is Liam Cohen. And he's going to do some things that make him look as special as he has at various points in his collegiate career. But I do not see a world where they say, I think it's a better idea to take the ball away from Brian, like to not target Brian Thomas Jr. as much as humanly possible when we put the ball in the air. That's something that I just don't see happening. And we all had our questions about Brian Thomas Jr. and whether or not he's the prototypical X and he can win and do the things. He did everything you want to see from an elite wide receiver. He was a wide receiver 4. He's one of the only guys outside of that top 3 of Jamar, whatever order you have it in. I mean, most people it's Jamar, Justin, and CeeDee Lamb. That's the top tier for me. He's one of the guys that can break into that. So I think it's kind of foolish to say, hey, we're going to, like, this guy that we know is awesome, we're going to start taking targets away from him and focus on this new guy. Now,
Right.
I do think that they can both thrive, but I think it's more of a 1A, 1B. And the guy that we were having this discussion with on the Twitter X machine was like, well, I view Brian Thomas Jr. like T. Higgins. And I said, well, I mean, T. Higgins has literally never done anything that Brian Thomas Jr. has done on a football field. So that comparison in and of itself is asinine. And then comparing,
except for score fantasy points per game.
Sure. Yeah. In 10 games, T. Higgins is going to be incredible. Or 13, whatever it is. He plays like 14 games a year. I respect it. I do. And he's going to leave, he's going to leave 3 of those games after starting them and doing, absolutely nothing. And then he figured out the Hill thing. And so now he's not even tipping his hand anymore.
Jamal asks, Hunter equals Godwin, BTJ equals Evans. I say flip it, especially rookie season. Hunter I don't think he'll be asked to do as many complicated. I think he'll be more of like, you go on the outside, you run some crossers, some curls, and some deep routes, and we're going to allow Brian Thomas Jr. to exploit his route tree. So I think it's more Brian Thomas Jr. will be running Godwin-like routes, and Hunter will be running Evans-like routes.
One thing, an important point for people that I don't think is public knowledge is the fact that Travis Hunter never attended wide receiver meetings at Colorado. That's not. He's never prepared as a professional. Like, he's never prepared as a collegiate wide receiver. They would make packages for him, and then they just be like, hey, just, go run a curl, run a screen. That's why his touches look the way that they do. Now, he can do all the wide receiver stuff.
Right.
Like that, he won the freaking Biletnikoff. Like, he can do all of the wide receiver stuff. So I think he's going to do a lot of things bigz said, but I think that with Liam Cohen comes an incredible and immaculate screen game. So you're going to see a lot of that usage as well. So I think low A-dot targets and deep shots potentially for Travis Hunter out of the gate. And then we're talking about a guy who's a 2-time academic All-American. I feel like, and I've said on the show before, his football acumen is something that I don't think people talk about enough either. Like, the ability to process all this is something that's going to be. So yes, it could be that he comes in and he commands 120 or 130 targets that BTJ did. But I think that the ceiling with someone at quarterback that's better than Michael McCorkle-Jones could lead to both of these guys being good. But I still would have BTJ first.
And that's the other thing that I was going to make a point about is you have Hunter, and he's coming into a system where he's got an established quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and he's got Liam Cohen basically calling the shots, leaving an organization where you had Shedeur Sanders, and I'm not throwing shade on Shedeur. You had Shedeur Sanders running a specific offense that, their OC over there wasn't really like throwing the wide 2 spider banana whatever book at him. It was more like, all right, you go here and you go here and you run an out and you run a curl and we'll get it there.
No, literally their third down play is a so the one thing from the draft guy I had to do Shedeur. I had to do Shedeur and I had to do Travis. And they were running cover 2 beaters against very clear cover 3 alignments and stuff. And not to get like way too much into football stuff. But like, that's just, there's a level of ineptitude there that just blows my mind. It's like,
as far as the play calling.
Yes. It was, and it's against Nebraska. You can go, it's like in the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. One of their third possession. If you go to Dynasty Nerds, you can pull up like the All 22 or whatever. You go find the All 22 in a bunch of different places. But if you find the Nebraska game, go to about the second quarter, like their third possession. It's after the pick six. They run a cover 2 beater against very clear cover 3, and it is comically bad.
Like
And that's a common theme.
Checking out the line out of a screen with cover 4 and switching to all goes.
Yes. Yeah, like there's a cognitive dissonance between what you should be doing and then what they actually do and what they're trying to do. It's hard to figure out like what's the game plan here.
Yeah. One last thing that I wanted to talk about. There was some video that came out of last year's camps, and it was Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing running drills together. And there was a very stark difference in their physicality. Jacob Cowing looked very deliberate and short and precise in his movements, and Jacob Cowing looked like a scarecrow trying to run.
Wait. You said Jacob Cowing.
Or sorry, Jacob Cowing looked very precise, and Ricky Pearsall looked like a scarecrow trying to run. Some of the video that I saw of Cam Scadaboo today.
Oh no. I was hoping that we didn't talk about this because
if you've ever heard the phrase something akimbo, his legs were akimbo when he was trying to like cut and stuff like that. It was like it was hilarious, and I was like
hoping the Anglo-Saxon assassin gets his sea legs up under him.
You gotta like.
I'm hoping he gets his sea legs up under him, because that was a guy that I felt like, and I've kind of pounded the table for a little bit. I feel like he got disrespected in the process because he is an Anglo-Saxon assassin at the running back position. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to be really upset because he's so fun to watch play football.
Yeah. I already took him 2-1 in the rookie draft.
What?
Yeah.
Brendan.
I needed running back, and the running backs that I was looking at, I had him in that tier. All the other ones were in the next tier, and they were all going to be gone.
What about Bayshaw Tootin?
Yeah, I love Tootin. But I think I see a quicker path to the field than for Scadaboo. And
oh yeah, because you love Travis Etienne. That's right.
I don't love him. I just
don't
strongly
think strongly like Travis Etienne.
I mean, we're just friends. We're going to come back on the end of this, and then it'll be reading time with bigz.
Hey, what if I told you there was a Dynasty app where you could get player lifetime values, evaluate trades, including draft picks out to 2028, compare the advanced metrics of 2 players, look up the sentiment, buy, sell, hold on players? Well, there is a mobile app that has all of that and more called the Dynasty Dominator, and it's $5 in the App Store on Google Play. This is my gift to you, the most affordable Dynasty League domination app available today. And if you already have it, the 2025 class is ready to download. Let's go!
All right. I had some things that I wanted to talk about that I've talked about on prior shows, and I am very upset because I don't have all of my notes that I thought I had. I wanted to talk about signal versus noise in terms of like our fantasy process, right? And there is a lot of stuff that comes out as you know, like oh, this person's visiting here and this person's visiting there, etc. Well, there were some situations where you had teams drafting that literally did not talk to the player. And there were some quotes, and this is mostly coming out of like my digging into like Raiders pre-draft process and stuff like that. But John Spytek did not get in contact with some of the players that he drafted. And he had a quote, and unfortunately I cannot find the exact one, but essentially, to paraphrase, he said, sometimes you don't want to send the message that you have interest in the player because you don't want somebody to jump up and grab them. So no 30 visit for a player, no interview for a player, whatever, and then they take them in the second round, right? That's kind of the subterfuge that's out there. You don't want to play your hand, especially when it comes to the draft process. So it's not necessarily that somebody's team visit is actionable. and I've talked about that before. And then I have a little bit more on that process if you want to address that idea.
Well, I mean, in the information age, we know now that everything, this has become, the reason that this show exists, the reason that we're able to talk to you guys so much is because this is a 24/7, 365 news cycle type of thing. So these visits are getting reported, and these GMs, they know each other. They know each other's tendencies. They know if you're doing homework on this player X or this, this guy or this guy, that you probably have a plan to do something, along the lines of selecting said archetype of player. So if you're able to, get the information that you need out of the combine and you have a high enough grade based on your organizational, your scouting organization's well-to-do process, and you guys come to a conclusion, no, you don't need to bring him in for a 30. Like, for instance, Travis Hunter did not go on a 30 visit and never talk to the Jaguars outside of the combine. Do you think that the Browns would let him would have let the Jags move up to 2 if they had the inkling that he was going to, if they had the inkling that he was like, he wasn't, he was in play firmly for them, and
Right.
that was a target of theirs. Now they could have made an offer. Gladstone, Ellen, the GM, could have made an offer that the Browns simply could not refuse, and that's a pretty good. I mean, it was a pretty good deal, but I think that teams are just smoke screening harder than ever now, and they don't want to be they don't want to be out on Front Street exposed. So I absolutely love the gamesmanship idea of this, of trying to hide your hand as much as humanly possible, because these guys do know each other, and they know, the scouts know each other, and they're, you might say something to this guy and he goes and feeds it back to his GM, and this is a high level chess game for a lot of people. And then some people are playing checkers. So, right. Eric DaCosta had a beautiful bit that you guys should go check out. I believe it was on, was it on Dan Patrick or Rich Eisen?
It wasn't on either. It was on, I don't remember who the host was, but
it's fantastic, right?
Right. And I'm applying it in my dynasty leagues, like right now. And that was the next thing that I was going to address. I do remember the source of the comments, and it was so ESPN did a profile of player X, and it was somebody that they talked about a whole lot in the pre-draft process, and then after the draft they revealed who it was, and it was we talked about Tommy Millott earlier. The Raiders wound up drafting, and they drafted him at the very back end of the 6th round. They had not talked to Tommy Millott. They hadn't had him in for a visit. They had seen him at like a pro day or something like that, but they didn't really approach him. But they had him tabbed, and they were like, this is a guy that we're going to bring in and we're going to make famous. And apparently there were 3 other teams that were picking at the top of the 7th round that all had him marked. And it was a surprise to all of them when the Raiders took Tommy Millott. They were like, what? That was our guy. Nobody wanted him. How could this happen? Well, you should have spent the 6th rounder on him. On one of my shows, I went through all of the 7th round wide receivers that were drafted after Tommy Millott as like, look, you guys, you were college wide receivers. Tommy Millott has never played a snap at wide receiver, and he got more draft capital than you, Tez Johnson and other people. What are you doing? They were my draft losers. Well, Tommy Millott was drafted in the 6th round. The Raiders knew that they had to, but they did not let anybody know. On the DaCosta comments, essentially what he said is that there are fine threads between the talent levels of some of these players. So you have, most of the time, you're talking about 2 guys who, when you evaluate everything down to its core, it's basically not going to come down to the individual or their talent level. It's going to come down to how they were coached, the situation that you're bringing them into. It's why guys who have a ton of talent can be failures. It's why guys who are not looked at as talented can have success. And he said, so what you want to do is acquire as many assets, because there's 32 teams and they're all looking at the same number of hit rates in the 1st and 2nd rounds, the same number of hit rates in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, the same number of hit rates in the 3rd and 4th rounds, etc. So acquire as many assets as you can, because then something is likely to hit and you have something to work with. Well, if you're trading up for stuff, like the Desperate Giants, you're not acquiring more picks, you're giving away more picks. So your margin for error decreases. If you trade back, your margin of error increases, because now you have a few times that you can hit rather than just the one. So I'm going to read this little paragraph. It's about the Jack Besh valuation. The Raiders had 2 opportunities to take him in the second round, and they traded their picks away. They moved from pick 37 to pick 48 after a trade with the Miami Dolphins, then traded pick 48 to the Texans for pick 58, which is the pick that they used on Besh. Whatever their reasons for moving down in the draft, it seems that they got their guy they wanted and found a way to manufacture more picks. With the picks they received from the Dolphins and Texans, the Raiders selected offensive tackle Charles Grant with pick 99 and South Carolina defensive tackle Tonka Hemingway with pick number 135, increasing the number of times that they are able to hit. And they still got their guy. So they could have taken Besh at the 37, but instead they dropped back to 58, acquired a couple more guys. And you know how this show feels about South Carolina defensive players.
Yes.
Tonka Hemingway was the 135th pick of the draft. His route to stardom is not very clear. He very well could wash out in the next couple of years. But if I'm going to bank on the talent of a defensive player, it's somebody who was recruited to South Carolina. So he'll be a rotational guy for a while. He may be a star. He may not. It's fine. He was the 135th pick. But that speaks to what DaCosta was talking about. Now, another thing that the Raiders just did is Spytek went out and he grabbed 3 of his good friends that he's worked with before. One of them was the scouting director for Philadelphia, who worked closely with Howie Roseman, and we've seen Howie Roseman absolutely slaughter drafts the last few years, to the point where I watch his drafts and I'm so jealous of the Eagles. I'm like, I wanted that guy. I wanted that guy. I wanted that guy. And then a couple of the guys from the Denver Broncos. So all of these things, you can see the success of the Ravens and you can see the failure of the Raiders over the last 20 plus years. You can say 20, you can say 40. I'm not going to quibble. But you can also see the way that they're restructuring their organization. And, what's the best way to fail? Do the things that failures do. What's the best way to succeed? Copy the people who are successful and do the things that they do. And that's what I wanted to kind of get across to people. Do the things that make people successful. Listen to me and my fantasy takes, and you go and you beat Jax Falcone. Any chance I get. Anything that you wanted to add before we get to the number controversies?
The number. No, I fully agree with that. We've said on various different platforms that we share, I would say this is the year to have, to acquire multiple seconds and thirds. And, as we get into next year, it's going to feel weird, but just ask for fourths in a throw in, and you'd be surprised at how many people get super duper vodka goggles for a player that's on the board and you can pick up a next year's third for a fourth. And I mean, that's found money, guys. So
somebody tweeted their little sleeper thing, and there were 6 2027 firsts.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yes.
Trade everything for 2027 firsts.
I traded our boy George for a 2027 first and a 2026 second. Yeah.
What? I had a suitor come calling yesterday. What is it going to take to get you out of George Pickens? And I said, kick a can down the road. Give me a 27 first. Haven't heard back yet.
That's the thing. It's like,
yeah.
you should be 1000%. This cowboy bump should be able to get you, whereas people were sending me 2s and 3s, prior to the draft. I mean, I didn't even have to try hard, and I got a 2027 first and a 2026 second. 72 hours difference.
Yeah.
So go acquire as many 2027 firsts as humanly possible.
Yeah.
If you got a fringe asset that's like, oh, I have value, but like I might not be valuable in your lineup for very long, like try to get off of that for a 2027 first.
Yeah. Peg yourself for winning the championship in 2027.
Peg yourself. Crazy bigz.
Sorry. I didn't mean it like that. All right, you guys. Thank you all for watching. We will be back with you next Friday. Go play Fast Draft. It's at fastdraft.app. If you like drafting and you want to draft faster with Fast Draft. Shout out to Matt Kelly, our fearless leader. Shout out to all you guys that were in the comments. I appreciate it. It helps the show go quicker. And gives us stuff to talk about. We did have Curdy say bigz and Chev locked in. Curdy, new member of the Undroppables, and yeah, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. I with the view count right now, I got the message that we didn't go to Twitter, but that's not YouTube numbers. Those are Twitter numbers. I'm at Big Boned FFB. He is at Chev90. We are both playing Fast Draft all weekend long, so join the party and have a good weekend.
Yep, that's it.
All right.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.
I just spilt on myself.